Hi friends, welcome back to the Manhattan Project. I am Todd and I'm doing a solo edition of a cocktail. This one's called the Vieux Carré. This cocktail was not on my recipe, but for one night I ordered it at a restaurant and then ended up ordering a second, maybe a third. Um, Again, it wasn't on my radar until our buddy Gnome at Gnome's Tavern. He made this and I'm like, oh yeah, that one. I need to look into that. So this is a cocktail that its origins go back to the 1930s and was invented by a bartender in New Orleans. Uh, that's about all I know, and it's obviously Frenchish, based on the title. So let's just kind of dig into making this cocktail. All right, so the ratios are pretty standard and very easy. We're going to start off with 3/4 of an ounce of rye whiskey. Now I'm using Wild Turkey Rare Breed. This is probably one of my favorite rye whiskeys. I'm going to do 3/4 of an ounce of sweet Italian vermouth. And I, of course, am using, in this case, Martini Rossi. We use this almost exclusively on the channel for Manhattans. Let's see, brandy. The traditional Vieux Carré would have been made with cognac. Cognac is basically a brandy. It's very much the same type of deal as champagne versus prosecco. To be called cognac, it has to be made in the cognac region of France, and it can be made with it has to be made with white grapes. Versus other brandies, it can be made with any kind of fruit, and then some other. I think they call them spices or something. Anyways, so we're using this E&J brandy for this. And apparently, E&J brandy is like the most popular, at least in sales in the United States. So not necessarily a measure of quality, but it is impressive. So the last heavy component is going to be Benedictine, in this case 2 bar spoons. So you already see that where a Manhattan is very whiskey forward, this one is broken up into almost not quite equally into all of these three. So it's not going to be as potent whiskey tasting as a typical Manhattan. So one thing that's not contested is the use of Peychaud's. Now, some say you should use less, some say you should more, but I'm going to go with what I saw as a classic recipe, and that's going to be 2 dashes of Peychaud's bitters, and then 1 to 2 of Angostura aromatic bitters. I'll go with 2. So that's it for that. I'm going to add some ice to this, and I'm going to give it a stir. Now we are going to, now that we've stirred for 30 seconds, we're going to strain this into, in our case, a rocks glass with some ice. And I'm getting more than I bargained for there, but some might say you should use a coupe, but I'm not. So the last thing is a branded cherry. You could also do a lemon twist on this as well for garnish. So that's it. This is the Vieux Carré, and we're going to give it a shot. Cheers. Yeah, that's about what I remember. It's really good. Similar to a Manhattan, but not a Manhattan. It's definitely richer. It's a little. It's letting the spice from the rye kind of shine through. It's maybe a little less sweet than a Manhattan. That's neither good or bad. If you're asking me if we somehow got back on that desert island and I had to make a choice between the Vieux Carré and a Manhattan for the rest of my life, I'd probably choose the Manhattan. But this is a fantastic, I don't want to call it a riff, but it is kind of a riff on a Manhattan. I highly recommend it. Go out and try it. Cheers.